So, Happy New Year, ladies and gentlemen, and those of you who identify as whatever. I'm assuming attack helicopters and what such and such. So I thought I would start the year off with just getting one video out of the way because it's been a while since I've done one. And I guess I just wanted to do this given my initial thoughts on a remaster of two games that came out. Now I'm still in the first part, so that's why it's just my initial thoughts on Soul Reaver Remaster, not Soul Reaver Remaster 1 and 2. But, and for those of you who don't know what this game is, like if you're just seeing, it's like, when did this come out, and you just want some context, back in the PS1 generation, this game was a thing. It was actually weirdly enough a sequel to a game that looked like it was a Doom knockoff, or not a Doom knockoff, a Diablo knockoff, where you follow a character from the sky. It actually looked like a game I would play on the Game Boy when I was a kid, only with blood and guts, and I could never finish it. Only I couldn't probably finish it like I didn't finish those. And, sorry, getting sidetracked. So it was a sequel to that, which was about a vampire anti-hero. But the sequel, Soul Reaver, which apparently they weren't originally going to make it a part of that universe. This was originally something called Shifter. And then they were just told to, so they incorporated it, and then they made this main character Raziel. And there were some cool concepts they had when they were going into this. Like, one of the ideas was the main character Raziel was a fallen angel betrayed by his brothers. And some of the concept art was actually pretty cool, too. Like, you would see, like, there's one of Raziel standing on a clock tower. When I saw this as a kid, I assumed it was Big Ben. But, so this came out back then, and I remember seeing this as a kid. It was like, but when I got a PlayStation, which is funny if I didn't even ask for one, I think my parents were recommended to get me one by a doctor. They said it would help with hand-eye coordination. And I got a bunch of game demos. One of them was this game. Now, I could not beat the demo. I was kind of a retard back then. I sucked at playing. But around the time Rugrats in Paris came out with the game anyway, I was going to get one that year for Christmas. I remember watching my Uncle CJ and Steve play, and I'm not going to lie, the game creeped me the fuck out. And now, I look back on that, though, especially after, because I revisited the game back when I started college. I would, like, listen to game cutscenes. I was like, the fuck was wrong with me? I was a freaking pansy. Because, like, this is, like, gothic dark fantasy. It's awesome. Your main character, Raziel, was a vampire lieutenant. And what happens in this world is vampires don't, especially like the people who ran this empire with the King Cain, they all developed abilities. And what would happen was Cain would usually develop an ability first, and they would follow. Like Raziel was the first one he met lieutenants, then the second one, and so on. Well, one day Raziel seems to surpass Cain. He sprouts bat-like wings. And Cain, in what appears to be a jealous whim, ends up ripping the bones out of the wings and has him thrown in the Lake of the Dead, which this is normally reserved for traitors and weaklings. So I guess that was a double fuck you if you just take the initial concept of the cutscene intro. There's more to it than that. And the story is basically of Raziel gaining revenge, and he finds himself eventually reaching the bottom of the Lake of the Dead. The bottom of his jaw is gone. His body is emaciated. He only has 3 fingers. I don't know why. Fuck it. And one of the cool things about this game that I loved, because I've gotten to where I had the second boss fight was the initial one with Cain, where I got the sword, the spirit sword. Oh, by the way, before I forget, if you're a fan of the Elric saga, I think you might like this game, because even though I can't find anything in the research I've done for my Raziel video between a correlation between the Legacy of Kain games and the Elric saga, yeah, it's kind of like with the Witcher thing, where I think there's too many similarities for it to be a coincidence. Maybe. Either that or they have cited it and I'm just not finding it yet, but there is like a Stormbringer-like sword in this game. You see Cain holding it at the beginning, and he fights you with it in that second boss fight I mentioned. But anyway, one of the cool things about this game, though, that kind of is like kind of takes me back is, and I can't remember if they even do this anymore with games, but it used to be if you beat a boss, you got a cool new ability which will allow you to access different parts of the gaming map. Like, the last game I do remember doing this was Darksiders, the first one anyway. I'm blanking on what other ones might have done this. But it's very fun. There's also, if you want to see what the graphics were like on the PS1 and the modern ones, you can kind of switch between the two. Just press R3, which is the right analog stick, just click down on it, and it can switch between the two. And I will say this, though, if you're hoping for let's just say a resolute ending by the end, no, I mean, granted, it's a 2-part remaster, so you probably knew this in advance. But, yeah. I'm just happy that this game got a remaster. I'm hoping this could lead to not only a remastered of Defiance, which was the last game we got, which was back on the PS2 and Xbox, which I never managed to beat, unfortunately, because I forgot how to do a certain ability, and by the time I tried to revisit it, my Xbox was gone for some reason. But I'm hoping it'll lead to a remaster of that. Also, I want there to be a remaster of Blood Omen 1 and 2, but my question is, how do you remaster Blood Omen 1? Because I cannot really stress how different of a beat. It's kind of like if you compared Fallout 1 and 2 with 3, 4, and New Vegas. Like, 3, 4, and New Vegas are like open world and third or first person. Whereas Fallout 1 and 2 are a bit like Blood Omen 1. It's almost like you're watching it from the sky, like a God's eye perspective. Well, you control the character, you have them go places, but... So, I don't know how they would remaster that. I mean, they could probably just re-release it as that. But I also want there to be a remaster of Blood Omen 2, because I want to finish that game, damn it. I never got that far, and I didn't beat the last boss. He kicked my ass. I want a rematch, damn it. And I'm also hoping this could lead to... I mean, honestly, this is probably me hoping for too much, but I am hoping that this game could lead down the line to another entry to Legacy of Kain, because... words cannot stress how much the people making those games were repeatedly shafted. Now, I don't know if this was due to malice on the corpos up top's part, or maybe it was just a case of it was just something that was out of theirs and the developer team's control. But yeah, every time they would try to make one of these games, it would be canceled. They would try to work on one, it would be canceled. They would start another one, it would be canceled. It was really annoying. Initially I thought it was because they were just being dickheads to them. But then a guy I know, Z, caused me to think, wait, is it possible this is not how I'm thinking it went down? It's not as much of an evil businessman thing as I'm thinking. And yeah, it looks like the latter might have been true, that it might have not been as bad as I was thinking. But yeah, I am hoping, though, that we could get just one last entry, because the last time we were going to get a Legacy of Kain game, we had 2 attempts. One was going to be, I think, maybe a remake or a soft reboot, where it was about a guy who was murdered, so was his wife and people, and he was brought back as a vampire or a Soul Reaver. There was even a scene where you saw him holding the Soul Reaver sword, but it was canceled. And then there was going to be a multiplayer game called Nosgoth, which I get the fans weren't a fan of, which, it contradicts some of the lore, I will admit this, but I was kind of interested to play it. Hell, when I tried my hand at making a tabletop based on Legacy of Kain, I was borrowing stuff from that game. But I am hoping I am hopeful that this could lead at some point to just a conclusion. Because the ending of Legacy of Kain Defiance, it has a bittersweet note. With Kain at least having hope again to save Nosgoth, which spoilers. But yeah, no. The game so far is fun. I'm liking what I'm seeing. I like how it's basically just the game, just the graphics have been upped. I mean, shocker, I know. I know to some people they're probably hearing me say something like, "Well, no shit, Sherlock. I suppose next you're gonna tell me the sky is blue or water's wet because of perception." But yeah, and the thing is, it's still cool. It's still a fun game. It still puts most games today to shame, kind of like the Ed, Edd n Eddy Alien episode. And also the dialogue is also pretty good. Because to say Legacy of Kain is like the Shakespeare of video games, I don't know if I can definitively say that, but yeah, to me it is. I do agree with that sentiment. The dialogue is very Shakespearean. And the characters are very... not Macbeth, but something to that effect. Like, Kain is more of the Macbeth, I suppose. Only he ran towards becoming evil-ish and selfish. Whereas Raziel, he's more noble. He just finds himself being manipulated oftentimes, much to his chagrin, to borrow from Strictly Fantasy. And yeah, it's a very good story. I'm liking what I'm seeing. I'm liking how everything's still the same for the most part. No, it's a bit like Kate Winslet. Even after she's gotten older, nothing has dropped for her. At least nothing dropped last I heard. It's all still in place. Kind of weird. Anyway, yeah, fun game. I'm liking what I'm seeing so far. I would recommend it. These are just my initial thoughts. I'm hoping after playing it, I will do a video just recommending it fully. Because, well, maybe. You never know with me. My mind's pretty all over the place. Same with Legacy of Kain, Soul Reaver 2. It is also, that story is also pretty good, and that's where you really get the... I'm just going to say this, even though I haven't gotten to the remaster of that, I do know the story enough to say, if you do play Legacy of Kain Remastered of Soul Reaver 1 and 2, that one is going to be a real weird one for you. I remember just listening to the story and being, like, very torn on it. Like, what the frick is going on? What the hell? Oh my god, this is awesome. It's very cool and all. Anyway, also, there's one thing I will address, though. I am kind of glad to hear that there was an attempt to be PC and edit stuff for some bullshit reason. I'm glad to hear that was changed when they're like, oh, the fans are not happy. Yeah, we do not want them crucifying us so bad Jesus will think he got off easy. Let's just make it as it originally was and leave it be. Fuck that. That's what it was, more or less. I like that. Now, I don't know for sure if there's any changes, because, like, unless you know beat for beat what every inch of the game's map looks like, I wouldn't notice it. So, if there are some changes that you're aware of, if you play it already, let me know. But I am glad to hear that they decided to not fuck with it for the most part and just leave it be. No currentism, revisionism bullshit for the little internet goblins and Reddit tards. But yeah, that's my thoughts on the remaster so far. Have a nice day, and you hit, and oh yeah, Vivictus.